I've just seen 12 says do the full intro again. So yeah, you guys grab a drink or something. I'll see you in about 9 minutes. Yeah, see you in a bit. Okay, I'm joking.
Hi there.
Didn't think the music was going to stop that time. How you doing? Welcome into twitch.tv/ice cream or YouTube or audio podcast services. My name is Graham Day and I'm joined by the man that we call Mr.
Bib.
Alrit.
Hello, Graham, and the rest of the chatters. How are we doing on this fine Friday afternoon on the 31st of January?
Oh, I love podcasting on the 31st of January, even though it says 24th in the top corner of the screen. Fuck! Definitely not changing that on the fly. God damn. There we go.
Getting the cameras in today with a double scoop, says Kevlar. Confirmed.
Yeah. For anyone watching this, no, we only have one set of clothes each. I did wear this hoodie last week because we don't change. Ever. No, okay, spoilers. We did record this last week, but it's because we're not going to be here this week when you're listening to this one on the on-demand services and stuff. So we thought we'd get one in the can so you got something, because we know everyone's Friday morning / early afternoon revolves around another episode of The Scoop. So here we are.
Hi, how you doing?
If you don't know who we are, though, as mentioned, I'm Graham. This is Where Ice Cream Uploads, and this is The Scoop, the UK's #1 video game podcast. If we do say so ourselves, we're going to give you our thoughts and our impressions of the biggest, the best, the breaky stories from the world of video games. But we want your thoughts and impressions, and then your thoughts and impressions on our thoughts and impressions, and you can share those with us in the chat if you are live with us on twitch.tv/ice cream, where we go live each and every single Friday at 10 a.m. Ironically, not this Friday, because when you're watching this was last Friday, so a bit of a lie, but there we go. If you are in the stream, though, please do feel free to get involved. It's important that you do, because we turn this live Twitch broadcast into an on-demand podcast that goes on the ICU YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and Amazon Music. So all the on-demand listeners get to pause, fast forward, rewind, and all that stuff, but they don't get to get involved, like you guys goo.
One episode is the limit, clearly.
I was struggling in episode 1, let alone episode 2. Anyway, let's get into the chat. How you doing? How you all doing? Welcome in. 12 is just saying do the full intro again. No. As it's the 31st, has the wind died down yet? It has, although there are reports that that low-flying trampoline that was seen like going over the skies of Glasgow, still unseen. There is a family just in East Glasgow that is disappointed that they haven't had their trampoline returned to them. So if you are in any of the outskirts of the Glasgow area and you do have an extra trampoline that you didn't have, if you can look into sorting that, be fine. Still airborne. Oh, okay, there you go. So there has been sightings. There you go. We'll sort it out. Not us personally. It's not our mission, but nobody wants to see a trampoline out on its own in the wild, do they? So yeah, there you go. That's enough trampolines. We do have a few stories to talk to you today. As this is a week in front, we won't be bringing you the Free Game Friday wrap-up that we do at the end of the stream. Although, that will be actually mentioned within the article from last week. Where is that one? Just
I'll show you next week's.
Yeah. Open that one. Or not. I've just clicked it, and it's not opening. There we go. Okay, I'll bring that over. I'll tell what it is, but I won't tell you about it. It's fine. We do have a few stories, though. We're going to kick things off talking about EA Sports, EAFC 25, and Dragon Age the Veilguard not being particularly great in any way, shape, or form. Bit shit, actually, is what the... no, it doesn't say that. Thoughts on EAFC? Have you played any Dragon Age either, too, babe? Is that a big game?
No, I actually really like Dragon Age as well. Again, I mean, this is a very moral story, so it's quite ironic that someone who co-hosts a video game podcast doesn't get time to play every single video game that there is around that he wants to be able to play. But it's another one that's in the backlog.
Well, do you know what? That seems to be not just a thing that's limited to you. As I jump over to the article now, this is from Eurogamer and Matt Wales. It says, EA says that EA Sports FC 25 and Dragon Age The Veilguard underperformed as it lowers the financial forecast. Basically, everyone's making podcasts and not playing video games is the brief. I won't read the article. We've summed it now. Okay, majority of shortfall is blamed on FC 25, understandably. That wobbles out there. EA... Oh my god, I've just seen in the chat 12 had said it used to be called a jumperline until Wobbles' mum went on one.
Don't laugh. Don't encourage him. Get him out of here. Ban him.
Oh, amazing. Fucking amazing. If you are listening to this, you can see more of that content on twitch.tv/12ed. That's TWELV, no extra E, head. 12 header. Nice. So yeah, there you go. Back into the news. EA has lowered its financial forecast for its current fiscal year, pointing to the underperformance of EA Sports FC 25, which it says accounts... I'm still laughing. I can't even fucking read. Thank you, 12. Nice one. Which it says accounts for the majority of the shortfall, alongside lower than expected interest in Dragon Age The Veilguard. As noted in EA's revised outlook for the year ending 31st March 2025, the company was previously forecasting a, quote, mid-single-digit growth in live service net bookings. However, it now expects a mid-single-digit decline, blaming the majority of the change on EA Sports 2025, which saw... Does that mean FC 2025? Because it doesn't actually say it there. On EA Sports FC 2025, which saw a slowdown in momentum following its release in September. Additionally, EA has reported lower than expected interest in Dragon Age The Veilguard, saying BioWare's fantasy RPG engaged approximately 1.5 million players during the quarter, a number it describes as being down nearly 50% from the company's expectations. All this means the publisher now anticipates net bookings of approximately 2.21 billion for its third fiscal quarter and an updated range of 7 to 7.15 billion for fiscal year 2025. Quote, during quarter three, that's in dollars, by the way, the billions there. Quote, during quarter three, we continue to deliver high-quality games and experiences across our portfolio, EA CEO Andrew Wilson wrote in a statement accompanying today's revised guidance. However, Dragon Age and EA Sports FC 25 underperformed our net bookings expectations. Even so, Wilson says, we remain confident in our long-term strategy and expect a return to growth in fiscal year 2026 as we execute against our pipeline. Despite Dragon Age The Veilguard failing to meet EA's business expectations, BioWare's latest was well received by critics when it launched in October 2024. Quote, it's warm and welcoming, funny and hopeful, gentle when it needs to be, and of course, it's epic, Eurogamer's Robert Purchase wrote in his 5-star review. The Veilguard is spectacular, BioWare is back, end quote. And then there's another bit about how well EA FC did. It's all right and not at the same time was the gist of it. Okay. EA says EA Sports and FC 25 Dragon Age The Veilguard underperformed. It's lowered its financial forecast expectations going forward. This is despite EA Sports FC hitting the top of the charts, remaining there, churning shitloads of budget early on, and Dragon Age The Veilguard getting 5-star reviews from Eurogamer and engaging millions of players in its first launch period. So, is it really bad? Do video game companies just expect unrealistic profits? What are your thoughts, Mr. Bibb?
I think it's more of the latter, to be honest. Like, I do believe that EA's whole business model is just tied around FC 25. I was going to call it FIFA then, so that's not been the case for a while. I believe their whole profits are wrapped up in how much FC 25 can bring, and that doesn't even bring into consideration how much NHL and how much Madden and all the other EA Sports games, like college football as well, come out last year. I think it was for the first time in well over a decade, and I think that was actually one of the US best-selling games at one point. So it's obviously hitting a market that hasn't been hit for a long time.
It was
over
it's
there.
actually the EA Sports College Football is not just like the best-selling games for a period of time. It is the best-selling sports game in US history, bar none.
And they're still classing as EA's underperforming. It just shows how much money EA churn with FC25. Like, fair enough.
And
in
how
the
much
US
they
college...
expect to churn as well.
Exactly, literally. I think all of their investment strategy is just built around how much money you can make from Ultimate Team. And again, NHL's massive, huge sport. NFL, Madden, huge sport. College football, I don't even know how much you can actually probably monetize within that game. It might be the number one bestseller in the US history as a sports title, but if they can't make as much money in that as FC25 can with selling half as many units, then is that classed as a commercial failure for them? I don't know how they... we do know because of how much money they want to obviously try and make out of FC25 and how much money the shareholders will get out of the back of it. But this year might be one of the first times that I haven't seen as much fanfare for FC25, and I don't know whether or not that's because I just don't interact with as much on social media, so they're not being advertised me in like for my For You sections and stuff. But even the people who have grown up watching their Ultimate Team content, like I said, they don't talk about it as much, but they might not make as many videos as they used to. They might not stream for as long as they used to. They don't seem to be going to as many events as they used to. And I don't know whether or not that's because the game is progressively getting weaker and the amount of updates that they could potentially do on a monthly basis will benefit one set of the community, but turn the other one off. And then it's a challenge to get that other one back with a brand new update. Like, because it's a live service game and everything needs to get nerfed and buffed consistently when they bring out a new card. I just don't know if... I don't know. I genuinely, I don't know where I sit with this because I don't play the game religiously enough as much as I used to. But if your whole business model is just relying on one title when you have so many other incredible titles, then I don't know whether or not the right money is being invested in the right places. Because all it takes is for 4 gameplay breaks for this, and people will just stop spending money on Ultimate Team. And then what happens? The rest of it just crumbles.
It's quite a damning account of the industry when EA, one of the biggest non-first party publishers, possibly the biggest non-first party publisher in the world, with phenomenally achieving titles and a brand that is expecting to earn between 7 and 7.15 billion for the fiscal year 2025. Doesn't think that's enough.
Yeah.
And that is part of the reason why we're in this state of the industry where people are being binned left, right, and centre. So many tens of thousands, it might even be into hundreds of thousands now if you go back over the last 3 years, of people displaced from work because of games brands either making bad decisions or not even making bad decisions, just not making good enough decisions. Yeah, we like profit, but we like lots of profit, not just some. And that's kind of where this is. It's like the EA aren't saying this. This isn't a public statement released for consumers. This was I think it was financial forecasting for the current year. So this is messaging for shareholders that want to know how they can maximize profits and so on for their investments and the rest. Over the next 12, 24 months. So they're not saying it's not meant to be interpreted that way, but then you can see why these decisions are being made. Why studios that are having successful titles are getting shuttered. It's because they don't have the next successful title in the pipeline. Or that title was mega successful, critical acclaim, but it wasn't live service, so we didn't get a bajillion quid. So can we just shut you down and you can work on a live service one next and so on? No, but the reason we made you all that money is because it wasn't live service and it was because what we do well and so on. But yeah, back into this. Dragon Age the Veilguard. There was a couple of comments in the chat where Salty Dog says, Dragon Age was not like the previous in the series, not sure who it was aimed at. And Tito says Dragon Age was weak, took a franchise and watered it down from what I saw. It's interesting because I'd seen mixed. So that you can understand, like, getting 1.5 million people involved in the first quarter, that is a big achievement, but it's also not a massive achievement. When you see your headline single player titles getting, we've got 5 million, 6, 7, 8 million, 13 million sales. That's sales, let alone engaged players and so on. And 1.5 million definitely is down. But there's a good chunk to build on there. But like, you kind of feel, we only hit 1.5 million people, so we won't make another one of those. Is the state of the industry now. It's not a case of, okay, how do we make this better? How do we engage those players more in the next one? It's, okay, we didn't get it this time. We might as well just put all our energy into one that might get it next time. And if that didn't get it, we'll kill that one and find the other one that might do it after. It's only things like EA Sports FC where you can see that they do get that leniency to just, okay, we'll do it better next time. We'll try a bit more. But for me, the issue is more, okay, what are you going to try? Because people want different content. All you seem to be doing is refining the one avenue that gets you that budget for me. And there was a comment, where was it, from Theodore? Actually, a slightly different angle, which we'll throw in as well, from Kevlar. I wonder how much of that growth is stumped because of the lack of FIFA branding. Personally, I don't think that will have changed much myself, because people still see it as, I still call it FIFA half the time anyway, but I feel like people have that FIFA is football, is FC, is all the same. It's all interchangeable, so people won't really notice it a lot of the time. So I feel like that might have had an impact, but I don't feel like it's going to be that mega. But this comment from Tito, I don't think it was that. It's just a shit game and people are bored. They tried doing a few different things, but it didn't hit. Players didn't like the fact scoring was harder and you couldn't ping passing. Personally, I like that. It was less arcadey. But now it's gone back to spam, quick passes, and shoot from anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what I mentioned before, isn't it? Like, you can't please everybody when it comes to live service games. It is impossible.
Thing is, though, you copy that and paste that into 2024 when we're talking about FC24, and you've got the same thing there, and you copy and paste it into 23 and 22 and 20. That always happens with video games. So that stuff I like them slowing it down. Definitely do. I'd take away the insane reliance on tricks and skills, because that's what you're basically making. Like, you get TikTok footballers, players that look good on the highlight reels. Like Paul Pogba, obviously, is not a TikTok footballer, but you can see why people say that. His best bits look amazing, whereas reality, he has some shite periods of football as well. But EA just focused on the TikTok bits, the skills and the pace, not the slow build-up play that's purist, football purist stuff. That's the boring shit that makes me moist when it comes to a football game. Working a team and then just fucking slapping through when they're being stretched from left to right 4 or 5 times and you've just worked the absolute wonder ball. Yes, please. Fucking Paul Scholes in it, Esk over the top for Bibby for a running backflip kick. Bah! Fucking yeah. Yeah, that I've worked it. It's not just ran it down the wing, done the same thing. So yeah, football changing in that sense, big fan of. But it was already shit. Like, the fact that you'll see the clips of the fastest player, an Mbappe or something, being beaten in a straightforward foot race against a Van Dijk who's, it's high rated, but his pace is about 15 fucking points lower, and you'll see him just instantly run overtake with or without the ball or whatever. So, but that's getting into the weeds of it. Like, the gameplay stuff isn't where the issue is for me. It's, you're still doing the Ultimate Team stuff? You're still going to launch, and then you're going to have a campaign in the first 2 weeks? Like, is it going to be some sort of, what do they call it, this Trailblazers it was this time or something like that? And then obviously there was Movember stuff, and then you'll get the Christmas Winter Wildcards, as it was called, and then Team of the Year, and then something else will come in, and then we'll get Champions League knockout stagey stuff, and then we'll get Team of the Season towards the end of the year. So it's just the same stuff again, but different paint. It's the same stuff. Like, and that's there's nothing new. The invention for me is where you put a fuck ton of effort onto your other game mode. Ultimate Team was the other game mode. Now it is the game mode. So a ton of effort into making clubs bigger, better, more involved with Ultimate Team and so on, so that you get different people playing different ways. And you saw that with the likes of your Call of Duties and stuff. Got stagnant until we got zombies. New game mode, new way to play. Then it got stagnant until we got Battle Royale. New game mode, new game to play. Getting stagnant until we found something. FC got Ultimate Team in, 2008-ish, 2004-ish, or whatever it was, and then just went, actually, we'll stick with this. And they haven't really done anything since. So that's the reason why, for me, is your branding has minimalised and your scope for gameplay has minimalised.
But it's not, when it come down to EA as well, like, having the rights. So some of my favourite FIFA football games was like the spin-off games. So your FIFA Streets and stuff. I know the first three were EA big, but like the one that got brought out in like 2012, like that genuinely is one of my favourite football games of all time, that FIFA Street. Like it had everything. It had a proper storyline to it. When you beat a team, you could take a player. Like the FIFA World Cup games and the Euros, again, fantastic games. That wasn't just about having a match. They had obviously the tournaments built into it as well. And I actually, was it 2000? Might have been 2010. There was a World Cup mode, and it was within one of the FIFA games. And again, you would.
I think 2010 was a standalone one.
Yeah.
The South Africa World Cup 2010 was, and
it must have been 12 then.
That was,
it must have been 12.
That was highly praised at being a good game. Not. I think it lacked licenses and stuff, but highly praised.
There was ones where you could go around Europe, and you could, when you beat a team, depending on what things that you actually did within the game, like if you scored a goal with Steven Gerrard, you get to take one of their midfielders and things like that. It wasn't revolutionary, but it was a way for you to be able to play maybe the same match multiple times to try and build a better team for yourself. Like there's so many different variations of how you could do it rather than it just being 11 versus 11 on the pitch. And I feel like that kind of creativity now, I mean, this is the same across every football game. Every game there is currently on the market. There is no risks being taken in any kind of video game anymore, because they don't want it to affect their bottom line. Whether or not that will be social reception from having various characters in there, not being maybe changing from, if it was a book beforehand, it might have changed slightly, and in the video game it's a different version of that particular character. They don't want to piss people off. That leads them to not selling that game, or just changing the format of how a game's played in the first place, whether or not it's a brand new IP or a returning IP. They don't want to change, go away too much. I mean, there's highly successful versions of that, God of War being one of them, turning that Resident Evil, going from tank control, survival horror to turning a corner with Resident Evil 4 and it being over the shoulder and it being a little bit more action orientated, and then coming back full circle to a first person survival horror game. Like the way that they've evolved over time, I mean, there was a long period in between where we're not going to talk about, but the way that they've managed to keep on reinventing the wheel when it comes to playing survival horror games has to be commended. But that kind of risk just seems to be not as prevalent across the board in a lot of games nowadays, because ultimately they don't want to piss someone off that doesn't lead to a sale or spending money within the game.
I feel, sorry to cut you off, I feel like that bit that you touched about there, though, is something that is kind of almost, it's a difficult untapped resource, but it is still an untapped resource in sports games in terms of Resident Evil's gone. Do you know what? We've learned from all forms of media, like superhero craze, that it's easier to just make a sequel within a bigger franchise than it is to come up with a new franchise. So for video games, that's difficult because Resident Evil is the entirety of the franchise. So we have to make a sequel. Actually, our way of doing that is to just remake the same one again. Okay, we've got Resident Evil 2 again, Resident Evil 3 again, and so on. But sports games doesn't necessarily have that facility. But I genuinely believe, and in 5 years' time, if this happens, then feel free to high-five me digitally through the internet, but I genuinely believe that sports games will find a way to do this, where they will go, okay, how do we make FC smash it? And there will be that, because you've seen it starting to filter out into other games like OG Fortnite and OG PUBG for a bit and so on. There will be ways for sports games to capture the OG. The difficulty with sports games is licensing. It's not easy, and it's usually a lot more expensive to get 2005's licenses in 2025 because all the players are individually retired. They're not covered by the FIFA Pro license. You would have to get them all together. So unless somebody figures out a way to get pass licenses, all inclusive, beyond the fact it's very difficult. But once someone figures out a way around that, I genuinely believe sports will be like, okay, well, let's capture PES 6. Everyone loves that PES 6 Inter Milan versus AC Milan sort of stuff. PES 5, heyday football games. Whatever those moments were for the FC community. I know FC 2009, when Rooney on the cover was big things. People loved that shit. So if, I say FC, obviously it was FIFA back then, FIFA 09, but if EA finds a way to box up 2009 football and put that into a case, then people will buy that shit 100%, and that would be beautiful. The only thing is, though, is because of Ultimate Team, EA is not looking at how I can box up FIFA 09. It's how do I take FIFA 09 licenses and put that into Ultimate Team. Icons, legends, heroes. It's that stuff over and over again. So that's the tired way of doing it. People want that vibe from that time. It might be a little bit rose-tinted glasses, whatever it is. You package that up, you've got profit. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see that from EA, not just on existing titles. So we'll get old-school single-player games that have been remaked, remastered, revisited for sequels, and so on. But I wouldn't be surprised if they started looking at how we can do that for sports games, because there's nostalgia here. Nostalgia is one of the most profitable things in the world. There's a reason I'm sat here in a room with Bumblebee, the Green Ranger, Optimus Prime, and all these helmets and stuff next to me. It's because I'm a grown man-child that has nostalgia and income to spend. People will spend it if you can entice them enough. So if EA figures that, that's where they'll get the money. But there you go, EA. Just fuck it. Just get me involved. We'll sort it out. We'll have a chat. Sort you out, mate. Easy. Okay. Yet FC won Sports Game of the Year. Makes no sense. Games Awards, ladies and gentlemen. Sesh says college football sells better because there is not a bunch of in-game purchases. FC makes so much money on their game store that it's a more profitable franchise. Exactly. That's it, though. Best-selling sports game in United States history. No other game that's a sports game on any vertical, be it football games, be it basketball games, be it soccer or whatever like sort of stuff. None of them have sold as well as EA Sports College Football has this year. But yeah, it's not been talked about in their financial forecast. It's madness. It's madness. Is it not indicative of modern capitalism? Even Amazon will collapse at some point because capitalism necessitates growth. No growth, no return on investment. Well, is it not? No, it is. Correct. That's exactly what it is. Stagnation, progression, adaptation. Everything needs to change, increase, multiply. Dunk, how you doing, mate? Ultimate Team is dead. I remember it would be a miracle if you got an icon and you'd be buzzed. Now it's every other pack these days. Well, that's it. I've played Ultimate Team for the first time this year, and I packed Puskas proper early on and didn't know what I was packing. And every pack has been a bit shit since because it was like, oh, great. Nice, I've got a 92 rated Puskas. He's not Adriano. He's not Pele. He's not fucking Maradona. He's not none of this. So it's Puskas, yeah, it's all right. He's one of those legends that never really resonates with me personally. So I thought, oh, nice. Didn't realise the significance of what I packed. But that said, that same team now has what's he called? Zidane. I've got a 94 Zidane in there because everyone got given one from EA. I've got Thunderstruck icon Ashley Cole at left back and a special edition Jude Bellingham that the game just gave me as well. So, like, my team's stacked and I've not really earned any of it. There's no real attachment to it because there's just so much in there. It's just like, okay. But even that, my Puskas 92, there is probably 30 players that are higher than him now, up to like 97-ish. And it's just like, one of the greatest players in history now is irrelevant. Okay. Dismiss. I saw a comment on Reddit where people were saying they'd rather games end 8-6 than 2-1. As a football fan, I do not understand that. I know it's a game, but I want it more real. And that's the rub. It's a game, but you want it to be more real. Real football exists if you want it then. But no, I get it. I agree. I am on the same page as you. I want to slow it down. I want the tactics. I want to be able to play short touch possession, boring football. And I want to be able to play it fast down the wing. And I want to release my speedy forward over the top. I want to play it however I want to play it. I want to stack my team and build it in a way. I don't want to have to just ditch the best centre-back in the world because he's not as fast as the meta. I want to play realism. So I get that. It's just a bit shit. But the next point that you mentioned, Evos have made it more interesting. Grinding the Future Style's my favourite promo. Yeah. So if I want to use my centre-backs, I can Evo them multiple times, get Delict up to 89 rated so that he's decent enough to use, and I don't have to just use my Rudiger and Van Dijk kind of stuff. Yeah. Prop Hunt, yeah, exactly. Another one, another alternate game mode. One that started out as it was a mod on PC that they thought, fuck it, this is good. We'll incorporate this in game. Like, imagine that. Mods come because the game's stagnated, so the community finds a way and the brand listens and does it. But how many times do you see that in video games now? Video games, shooters in particular, your big ones, Call of Duty, like after Zombies, hasn't really iterated. Battle Royale exists in Call of Duty now because the community made it. EA didn't gamble on it, or Activision didn't gamble on it. Prop Hunt exists because the community made it. They didn't gamble on it, sort of stuff. So, yeah, you show us what we should do, and you pay for it and put the effort and the time in, and we'll do it for you afterwards. Cheers, mate. Oh, right, nice, yeah. Krusty, how you doing? Good evening. Just put Adriano in FC25, problem solved. I mean, you said problem solved. That's just problem. Adriano was a cheat code in himself. Adriano was banned from a lot of PES League events back in the day. If you used Brazil or Inter Milan, you weren't allowed Adriano because you just full-powered it from the edge of, like, the opponent's third. Top bins! There you go. So, problem. Solved-ish. Exclamation mark. Vibro guy. Yeah! Hi, Vibro guy. How you doing, mate? I open my packs, but never once played Ultimate Team. No clue how any of it works. This year was the first year that I figured it out. I've used the mobile app for the last couple of years, but not enough to be able to do the trades and stuff, because you only unlock that once you're a legit person. This year is the first year where I've been able to do that. And I did enjoy it. I forced myself to enjoy it, then did enjoy it, and I got about 4 weeks of enjoyment before I was like, this is shit, and it's not going anywhere. It's just a fake, like, endorphin buzz that I'm chasing of, oh, I got a great player who's just the same as every other player, but I need to, the fake belief that it is him having 2 overall better makes him better. Shit.
The overalls are probably one of the worst things that's ever happened in any sports game.
Yeah.
Ever. Like, I hated it. Like, the stats don't mean anything unless the overall's better. Like, that's shit. That's such a shit way of looking at it. Like, the entire personality of the player should be way more important than the overall. Yeah, that's it. But apparently, because it's got a better overall, it's a better player, which just isn't the case, in my opinion.
100%. I hated Ultimate Team until last year when I started my Arsenal P&P and signed David Beckham because he trained at Arsenal once, and you was like, yeah, he definitely is an Arsenal player. Definitely not a flawed approach to it. I'd have done the same thing, to be fair. But yeah. Edgy Super, how you doing, mate? Welcome back. Also, look at this for a record. 3-stream streak. Nice. Here he is, the vibrating gamer. No, Vibro guy. People want 8-6 results are probably Americans who've never seen real football. Sesh. Get him, Sesh. Fight. That's a lot of wants. I don't think we'll get any of those things as long as Foot makes billions, because people want to buy the meta players and you don't buy the hand that feeds you. Well, that's it. It's not the game for me. That's why I stopped playing it. Despite having a team that was stacked, I'm not the target audience, so the amount of effort I'd have to put in to get the enjoyment that I want out of it is just not realistic. So I ditch it. In the same way that we're talking about PUBG in the last episode, and buying the passes, I buy the pass for what I want to get out of it, not what they want me to buy it for. They want me to buy it as the little bit of free heroin before I pay for the expensive stuff afterwards. No, I'll take your free heroin just to get a little bit of a buzz on the side in my own way. I'm not snorting that shit. I'm pouring that into a cup of coffee and stirring it and enjoying it in my own way. Fuck you with your heroin. Oh my God. Lightning McQueef. Thank you for the follow. Nice.
Class.
Ka-chow. Welcome in. I've done that one. But if you two use the teams from Manchester that you support and it was realistic, you'd both be really disappointed. Touche. It's a modern.
United got a win last night. It's fine.
Yeah, easy. Easy. Always in the bag, and definitely not squeaky bum time at all, even in the slightest. It's a modern sticker book card collection game for me. Yeah, but even that I find mundane, because your sticker book, you buy your Panini sticker book and there's 500 stickers in it, and you've got 300 stickers in the book and you think, I've only got 200 more to go. Panini don't just slide out another 8 pages and go, well, there's another 200 stickers to add in now that weren't there at the start of the collecting. And that's the shit bit, is the sticker book just keeps growing. You don't know how many stickers you're going to have and how much it's going to cost you to fill the book by the end. Ruins the collection element for me. Overalls mean fuck all. Exactly. You put stats side by side. I've got a fucking Dalot or whatever who's like 86 rated and 84, 5, 6 rated. Every one of his stats are higher than whoever it was, a Carvajal or something like that. And yeah, he's lower overall because of hidden stats, the FIFA stats that you can go churning into and blah, blah, blah. There is player eyed to a degrees. Great success. I know what you mean. ID to a degree. The freebie high-rated players in the season pass never play as well as the pack players, 100%. I would have agreed last year, but this year's pass players have been class. That Sancho is cracked. It's great when you can throw your wallet at it without impact. Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah, but you never finish the sticker book anyway. That's true, because fuck that shit. I didn't have any money. Growing up in a poor house, I'd have to spend a fortune on it. I remember buying a big box of Premier League stickers and still not having enough to finish the book. Fuming, walking around with a stack of swaps like that. Bastard. Anyway, I've stopped playing football games this year, and that's a first. I just hope that FM delay will be worth it. Same. Not for me, but for the people that enjoy it. I hope that FM is exactly what the FM community needed to be. Bibby plays it, Ravi plays it, Shaw plays it, friends of the channel play the game, and FM is a very well-respected brand because it does what's right by the players very often. And I hope this works out for them, genuinely, because they're not funneling all the money into pay-to-win shit. So, yes, please. Anyway, speaking of pay-to-win shit, let's go to our next news article.
Yay.
Call of Duty! We're COD partners, by the way, so if you're interested, feel free to, do COD banter things. We are actually COD partners, but not because we're shills, because we don't actually get paid anything by COD. It's just we get access to the games and stuff. But we're honest with it, and they respect that. So, Call of Duty stretches to 16 years as US's best-selling game. This is by Johnny Flores Jr. at The Gamer. If anyone's not interested in listening to the full article, I'm going to give you the bullet points. This is what I like about the game, and the fact that they summarise it at the top. Call of Duty finished 24 as best-selling franchise, a record 16th year in a row. With success of Black Ops 6, COD was able to surpass EA Sports College Football for the United States top spot. The last time Call of Duty wasn't in first place was 2008 when the Wii was dominating just about everything. So that's the summary. The actual article says, another year has passed, and to no surprise, Call of Duty ended 24 as the United States best-selling game, due in part to the release of Black Ops 6, with Black Ops 6 finishing as 2024's best-selling single game. It ensures that Call of Duty as a franchise has had the top spot for 16 straight years. The data was revealed on Blue Sky by Matt Piscatella of Circana, a data and market research analysis firm. As part of the release of December's data, Piscatella also shared the data for 2024 as a whole. Black Ops 6 took the top spot, besting EA Sports College Football 25, which had experienced massive success, enough to become they're stealing my lines here. Nice one. The best-selling sports video game in history. Naturally, obviously, these are only US stats. The last time that Call of Duty as a franchise didn't have the top spot was 16 years ago in 2008. As gamers may recall, 2008 was dominated by the Wii, with Wii Play, Mario Kart, Wii Fit, and Super Smash Bros. Brawl all taking the top 4 spots. Not even Grand Theft Auto 4, which was in 5th. That confused the fuck out of me that it said 4 with 5th in brackets. Goddamn, was able to top Wii's success. From then on, it's been Call of Duty all the time. Do you know what? I'll leave it there. We'll leave it there. It goes into other tidbits of information, which we're not going to touch on, so we don't need it. So, Call of Duty, top-selling game, 16 years in a row. Ooh, I've hidden half the thing. Goodbye. 16 years in a row. Does that surprise you with the move to Game Pass and co? What are your thoughts, Mr. Bibb?
No, it doesn't surprise me at all. I think this is Call of Duty is the game that sells systems in it. Like, in terms of if you're moving into a new console generation. People who this will be their only game, is what I'm saying. The only game that they play the entire year. So even if Microsoft put it on Game Pass, that probably won't affect those people. They'll just pay the 70 quid and they'll just be happy with that because that's the only 70 quid that they're going to spend in. Obviously, not to mention all of the skins and stuff that they might end up paying for within the game. But it doesn't surprise me. Like, there is so many games that are too big to fail and it's such a tainted brush. But I feel like Call of Duty is too big to fail. They've got too many hooks in different areas of the FPS. The FPS market. Like, they've obviously tried it with DMZ before, having the extraction element of it. It's now completely unsupported. I thought it was an amazing mode. Some of the best games on stream with like you and Wobbles playing DMZ. It was incredible, and now it doesn't make any money.
Fun
so
fact,
it doesn't really matter, does
just
it?
to jump in there, early rumours for the next COD is that DMZ is going to be their mode on the side kind of thing. So DMZ 2.0 is rumoured to be coming back in the next Call of Duty.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. If that's the case, I hope that is the case. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me in the slightest. There's too many iterations of the game. It's a yearly cycled game, and I know you could say that about all sports titles and things like that. But the fact that Call of Duty is the market leading game, no surprise. Again with Warzone, I mean, that is on its ass at the moment. If you speak to, I don't play it, but if you speak to a lot of the community, they're all asking for boycotts for people not to spend any money and stop playing it for a period of time so that they can see how disheartened the community are. I was trying to think of a better way, and I think disheartened is probably the best way.
Great word.
To use, because it is the game that they come home from work and they want to be able to play. And I'm not just talking about the streamers at this. I'm talking about the general community that probably only have 25 followers on X, but they will report back every single thing that they don't like about that game. And when you have the community at the top and the bottom all complaining about it, then you're obviously not doing something correct. And it's in a sorry state of affairs. It won't stop them from being number one. It'll still be the number one game in 5 weeks' time. It'll still be the number one game in 4 months' time until a brand new one comes out and then the cycle starts again.
What I'm trying to say, I am surprised that Call of Duty hit 16 years in a row. Not because I don't think it should, and not because this game's not good enough, and any of the information that the dedicated community will tell you. I am surprised that it hit 16 years in a row because of a couple of small bits of information that I felt might have had the potential to have the larger impact, and that is no DMZ-ish sort of mode on the side. Obviously, they've got zombies, which is a big churn for a lot of players, but zombies isn't your live service progression. It's a horde mode, slightly different, and so on. So it was zombies rather than your DMZs / squad sort of focus online. You were playing against the AI sort of stuff. That Black Ops historically has sold very well, but Modern Warfare is the one that gets the big numbers. So I'm thinking, okay, so zombies not being the other bits, obviously that doesn't preach to me, but Modern Warfare, not Black Ops, not Modern Warfare. That multiplied by the fact that Game Pass comes out means that people aren't going to be spending on it at launch as much, and then that multiplied by Omni movement and things like that coming in. I genuinely thought if there's a year where Call of Duty loses its top spot, this could be it. And that's not factoring in if it's great, if it's shit, whatever. That's just factoring in so many variables and other good games around it. This could be the year that it loses its spot. So the fact that it didn't means it's still doing big things. I mean, this is only in the US, though, mind. So naturally, we don't get the same sales data in the UK. We get different data in the UK. It's only physical sales in the UK, and that's just reported from retailers rather than the brands and stuff themselves. So that's the reason why, obviously, whenever you see this report, it's only ever on a US sort of scale. But I thought even still with that could have been enough to see it drop. So I'm surprised in that sense, but I'm never surprised to see Call of Duty being the top of any retail tables. So it does kind of open up the question of, is that just a Call of Duty thing? Because we've seen over the last 2 or 3 months articles with data analysis showing how damaging Game Pass can be for brands that want to release games, not just on Xbox, but in general. If the game's not free, if it's on Xbox and it's not free, I'm not playing it, because Game Pass, it should be in Game Pass. You should have taken a check from Microsoft, because I've given them some money. You should take money from them and play it that way. And that's been proven to be damaging for a lot of studios, but this hasn't impacted on Call of Duty. Is that just because it's Call of Duty, or is that a sign that, maybe not? But that's a whole different conversation. The fact that Call of Duty has had 16 years as the best-selling game will probably be a big part of that. Success breeds success if you maintain that success, and by adding in zombies and Call of Duty DMZ and Call of Duty's Warzones and all of the other stuff, Call of Duty remains relevant. So, yeah. Long may it continue, hopefully. But better. Nice. Please, thank you, mate. Just rolling back through the comments.
Come on.
Back to FM. I was expecting Football Manager... I am expecting Football Manager to be rough, but they have my trust and that they will get it right eventually. Agreed. Do you know what? That's the best way to look at it. The game is going to be shit. And if it's not, happy days. And if it is, you knew that, so you're not surprised. Any new game, any new engine, any new system that overhauls anything, expect the worst, because it's very, very possible. The fact that people who don't understand development will be like, yeah, well, they've delayed it, so it has to be good now. No, they've delayed it. Imagine how bad it would have been if they hadn't delayed it. That's the way to look at it. Is they're not trying to fuck you over. That they haven't delayed the game to stop you from playing it sooner and then release you a shit game. They've delayed it to try and, well, they've lost a bunch of money from not releasing it. By not releasing it, they're losing out on sales. They've actually had to refund a bunch of stuff off the back of that as well. So by not releasing it, there's overheads. Their studio rent, their electricity, their staffing bills and so on all still have to be paid. So by delaying it, they're paying that in anticipation of nailing it in the future. So... yeah, I hope they do. Like, it's very possible, though. We've seen it countless times in sports games in particular because of the nature of the gameplay. It's very possible that a new engine will be fucked somewhere, and you've just got to give them the time to go with it. But we're all maturing here, right? Wow. Wow. I think it was going to be rough, and that's why they took the delay to make sure it's in the best condition, hopefully. Exactly. Like, they've done that because they want to try and smooth it out. It might not be, but it will be better guaranteed than what it would have been. That's all we can assume. It's the right choice. I still think it will have issues and people will be disappointed, but I think a lot of people, given time, is such a love game, and Sports Interactive don't take the piss. Yeah. They've said their player base well for years, so if things are bad, the player base should stand by them. I enjoyed DMZ. I just struggled with the difference between bots and humans. Well, me and Bibby were the humans. Wobbles was the bot. That Vibro guy was Botman. Botman. Don't get Armour then. Yeah. I was watching Armour the other day. I was watching Precision. You was also in the game with him, Enzo. Precision was absolutely nailing a dude in the middle of the road. He went down, and then he nailed the shit out of another dude who just would not die. The hit registration just was not happening. So great success, mate. OG Warzone was fun. OG Warzone was, yeah. It's the same thing, though, and it's like Fortnite. OG Fortnite was great. And then you slowly build up. It's like the metaphor of put a frog in a pan of cold water and it's having the best time. But you slowly heat it up. It doesn't realise it's becoming uncomfortable. But you throw a frog into a pan of hot water, it's like, fuck this shit, I'm out, kind of thing. And that's like, if you jump into Warzone now, that's a big old pan of hot water. But you didn't realise all of the fucking stuff was building up over the years. And you're like, do you know what? This is not quite comfortable. This is not quite what I wanted it to be. So sometimes you need to just come in and flatten it all and start again. It's feeding my MILF sim addiction right now. Well, once it's bought or downloaded, do they count refunds? Good question. I don't know.
That's a very good question.
Don't know. I call them MILF Sims and horse shooters. Bots didn't have backpacks, if I remember. Yeah, Precision does nail men. Well, that was the issue. Precision nailed one man, and then he was struggling to perform when it came to nailing another. So Precision has limits, which are very, very low from the seams of things, but he does like to nail a man but it's all over quickly, and then he can't perform after that. So, yeah. Anyway, check out Precision TV on Twitch. Nice. On that bombshell, we'll move on to our next bit of news, which is one for Bibby, actually. Sticking with thegamer.com, this one is written by James Troughton. I don't know how you say it, but Resident Evil 0 is the next remake, says Leaker. Do you know, I'll leave the summary for this time, but it's there on the screen. We'll call back, scroll back up if you want to see it afterwards, but we'll go through the story. While many speculate that Capcom would continue its string of remakes with Resident Evil 5, that might not be the case. According to prominent survival horror leaker Dusk Golem, the numbered prequel Resident Evil 0 is up next. Released in 2002 and remastered in 2016, Resident Evil 0 follows STARS member Rebecca Chambers and escaped convict Billy Cohen on an Umbrella-controlled train that Albert Wesker has ordered destroyed. The story leads directly to Rebecca's arrival at Spencer Mansion in the first game, explaining what happened to the Bravo team. What's interesting about Resident Evil 0 is that you can jump between both chambers and Cohen on the fly to complete puzzles, almost like playing through a co-op game by yourself. This was something that set Resident Evil 0 apart from the other games in the series, and at the time, it was praised as a novel, exciting idea. The game was also lauded by reviewers for its gloomy atmosphere and solid story, although in retrospect, many new players complain that it's a frustrating experience, especially as there's no item box. Inventory management is much less forgiving, and that leads to a lot of backtracking. Last week, Dusk Golem posted a thread on Twitter giving their thoughts on what 2025 and 2026 will look like for the Resident Evil franchise. They described the Resident Evil 0 remake as more of a, quote, big reimagining, end quote, and speculated that Capcom would strike a marketing deal with Nintendo to push for it as a Switch 2 launch title. Dusk Golem also believes that the supposed Resident Evil 0 remake will launch in time for the series' 30th anniversary to mark the beginning of the saga, ahead of Resident Evil 9, which they speculate will function as the ending of the saga, a poetic dichotomy to celebrate the franchise's storied history in horror gaming. Extra points for the use of the word dichotomy there. Nice. With the Switch 2 reportedly due by September at the latest, there's not long before we see how close Dusk Golem's predictions were for those who were hoping for Resident Evil 5 remake. However, you'll have to make do with the worst game getting a current gen port, I'm afraid. Okay, Resident Evil 0 is the next game in the series to get a remake. Apparently, not Resident Evil 5. How does that tickle your pickle? Which would you prefer, babe?
Probably Resident Evil 0, to be honest. Like, I've just had to Google when this game came out, and it said it was 2002. I'm not going to go against that, but I didn't actually play this game until the Wii came out, because my Wii had because I never had a GameCube, but all of my Friends had one, so I'd played a little bit of it at theirs, but you don't properly play it at your mate's house, do you? So I didn't actually play it properly until I got a Wii, because they had a GameCube within the Wii. Perfect. And I really, really enjoyed it, but all of the gripes that was in that article are the things that was holding it back, I think. Having to flick between two of the characters, annoying as fuck. I mean, it was good in some instances, because you needed to be the other character to either move something out of the way for Rebecca to jump up, or if you needed to help her up somewhere. That was all great. And having no item box because you was going through different locations. So like using the item box in the Spencer Mansion was great, because you was always within the mansion. You might go to a bit outside, but you would always be within the grounds of the mansion. It didn't make any sense that you was putting stuff in a box one place, but you can access it elsewhere. But obviously, if you played on a harder difficulty, that wasn't the case.
I didn't know that.
But not having them,
that the boxes became like segregated for harder difficulties. So if you leave something in the left wing of the mansion and you're in the right wing, you can't get it. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you have to go all the way back. That was great. That's amazing. That genuinely meant it was difficult, so you could play it on harder difficulties. And was it called Remix or something like that? So that all the items were in different locations every time you started the game. So if you knew that you needed a shotgun from one place, it would be in a completely different. The bullets and stuff like that would be in a completely different random place, which was great for replayability. And if you wanted to play it on a harder difficulty, but with the having no boxes on this, just dropping items on the floor and then potentially moving on to a bit where you can't go back and get it, fucking frustrating. But that's where the difficulty comes in Resident Evil games. They were notoriously difficult for a reason, because they wanted you to feel like you were playing a survival horror game, rather than when you move on to like Resident Evil 4 and 5 and 6, where you could just hoard items. That this was genuinely, you have to take what you think you need now, rather than thinking, okay, I'm gonna hoard as much out of this ammo for end game or whatever. So I feel like when they go to reimagine this, they're probably going to take away all of that and probably make your inventory more than like 8 slots or whatever. So yeah, I mean, super looking forward to this one. Resident Evil 5 was a good game, but if you was only playing with somebody else, if you was playing with Shaver, who was your AI companion, she was useless. She was literally just used to carry stuff for me. She couldn't shoot for shit. So I would much rather have this than that. However, I'm open to just having more Resident Evil games because it genuinely has been banger after banger.
I genuinely thought that was going to be your answer when I said, would you prefer 0 or 5? I thought you were going to give me both. I was good. That's not the answer, but I'm glad that you give me one. So nice.
Yeah.
Talk Shows on Mute says, no one wants Resident Evil 5 or 6 remade, do they? Dear God.
Yeah, 6 was an abomination. 5 was okay.
There you go. For me, no idea. I'll take your word for that.
You enjoyed 2 though, didn't you?
Yeah, it was good. It was good. 2 was the one with the big fuck off Mr. X, right? Or was it?
Yeah, and then 3 was Nemesis.
Nemesis, yeah. Yeah, Mr. X can get in the fucking bin, dickhead.
Chasing you around all through the gaff. No, 2 is my favourite game of all time. It was the original 2, and then when they remastered the second one, oh god. Gaming doesn't get better than that for me. That was perfect. You're talking about a gaming romance. 2 was probably the first game that I ever played where I thought, Jesus Christ, like Resident Evil 1 was amazing. Absolutely loved it. The voice acting corny as shit. But then when you get to the second one, you're going through the police station.
Can I just jump in there? So Resident Evil 1, like,
yeah.
Without having to spoiler it and without having to go through fucking 30,
yeah, I'm being very difficult with what,
30 years.
With what I say.
Not even that, but like for without having to go through 30 years of video games, I want to jump onto slightly a different angle here. Then, so how does Resident Evil 1 begin? Because like they're talking like Resident Evil 0 comes behind that. What is Resident Evil 1? I've never played the first Resident. Apart from like seeing, is that the one where the dog jumps through the window and shit? Like Resident Evil 1. So I've done that a bajillion years ago. Not played through it. I've just done that bit of a corridory bit at my mate's house. So what is that, the setup for that? Because they're talking about, like, the reason I asked this is because they talk about that Resident Evil 0 is the start of the story, like the story.
Yeah, so it was a prequel, to Resident Evil 1, yeah.
So how did what was the start of the story? Was there a leak? Did you wake up and everything had gone to shit? Or like how did...
So he was moving Billy from he was a convict. So he was transporting him from one place to another. But then the T-virus, I don't even think it's a T-virus that's in in Resident Evil 0. I can't remember what the virus is for it, but it was kind of all of it comes down to Umbrella. I'm trying to be very picky with how I say all of this. Not that I think anyone's going to go back and play it all. You'd be a fucking maniac to go back and play it all. But the Umbrella controls everything, virus leaks and all of that stuff. If you've watched the films, you'll kind of get the grasp from that as well. But Resident Evil 0 features a character called Rebecca who was actually in Resident Evil 1 as well. But Resident Evil 0 didn't come out until well after number 3 had come out. So we went 1, 2, 3, and then 0 come before it, which, again, bizarre. But Rebecca Chambers is a medic that is part of the RPD STARS team. But I don't know why they chose Rebecca of all the fucking characters. Anyway, she was in 0, and then she was with the STARS team as they went into the first one. I think she was part of Bravo team, and she was already in the mansion when you arrived with Jill, Chris, and Wesker as they enter the mansion. She's already there with Forrest and somebody else. I can't remember, his name's gone from my head. But yeah, they're already in the mansion, and then the other 3 characters are going to try and rescue them because shit's gone down inside the Spencer mansion, which is a part of the Umbrella Company. So there's so many nuanced bits in there. But
the reason I was asking is, so they mentioned, like, obviously this is the beginning of the story. From what you played with Resident Evil Village, that was 8, right?
Yeah.
Or was that 7? So Village, like, would you say that's the same story arc for someone that
No.
hasn't been through it. So, because like they're talking about that being the start of the story and 9 being the end of the story. Would you see 9 following organically from what you do in 0, or is that just a numerical thing for the idea or something?
I think it's just a numerical thing because the only thing that ties them all together is Chris Redfield, who appeared in Resident Evil 1 and then appeared in Resident Evil 8 Village. Like they're the only things that the only different because he isn't part of obviously Stars because Raccoon City doesn't exist anymore. But he is part of, I don't know if it's like Special Forces or Special Agent, and he's going back to this place where Ethan Winters is, who first appeared in number 7, which, by the way, if nobody has played Resident Evil 7 yet, please just take the time out of your day to go and pick it up. It's about £4 on every single platform and just play through, because I'm telling you now, that is genuinely one of the most intense, scariest games I think I've ever played. Like the whole atmosphere of the Baker family inside that house is, I said number 2 was unrivaled, but for the pound for pound scare, Resident Evil 7 is by far the best that you can have. Whatever PT was going to be, Resident Evil is. And if you've never played PT, that boat was well and truly sailed. But that was an experience. This is exactly the same type of experience, which doesn't surprise me, to be honest, because the PT was fantastic. And I think the direction Resident Evil needed to go was something like that. So they've kind of copied their homework and put their own spin on it. But Resident Evil 7 is genuinely an absolute masterpiece if you've not played it. So go ahead and do it. But it just featured Ethan Winters, and then you'd moved on to Resident Evil 8, which you are Ethan Winters again. But you kind of turn into more than just a human. Again, the first time I played Resident Evil 8, I streamed the entire thing, and you can see my face as I'm playing through. I'm going, what the fuck is going on here? Like, I know Resident Evil's far-fetched, but this is genuinely like, this is a bit too much for me. And then you'd hit different places. Like you went to I remember the name of the house, but it had like a giant baby thing chasing you around with all the screaming and all of it's terrifying.
I watched you like playing that bit, yeah. No. Maybe I'm getting mixed up with this bit here. But so I've put a clip in the chat that's called Precision. It's not really. It doesn't really give you a full idea of what Resident Evil 7 is. But I watched back in the day. I don't know if it's you played through it on Twitch as well or just Precision did, but I watched a few different people because I was like, I'm going to play these games. Bibby's always talking. This was pre like ICU Bibby, or just about the time of ICU sort of Bibby, because that clip was 2018, I think it just said. When did you start? Was it about then? Was it about then when you started? 18,
July
19?
2018 I started, actually, yeah.
That was April. So anyway, I was chatting with Bibby a lot about that sort of time anyway. So I was like, I might play some Resident Evils, and Precision was playing Resident Evil, so I was watching a few bits. But yeah, watching that, I was like, so there was that, and then was it Kitchen, which was that the VR thing or something like that?
That was a VR thing, yeah, that came out for PlayStation VR.
I know.
It was one of those, like, no one knew it was a Resident Evil game until closer to Resident Evil 7, and it was like, well, we actually, if you played Kitchen, that was part of the whole Reach for the Moon engine kind of thing.
So I at that point was like, I might give this a go, and then in the end I thought, you know, I won't, but I can't remember where my tangent was. I went off giggity trying to find Precision there, but yeah, that was it. So coming back to it, so closing the story, your toe wouldn't look out of place in the Resident Evil game. Or did you post a picture of it or something?
When I said to Wobbles I'm not coming because of this, the blood blister had just started to come underneath, but now I have no toenail, which is why I'm on antibiotics to stop any kind of infection going through, but it's horrific now. As
I said to Bibby the other day, it looks like a Shaun of the Dead prop. It looks like something that you'd see just like discarded in the street. That's his foot. But yeah, the bit I was saying was like, it's clearly the start and end of the story is just marketing mantra then, because I like what Resident Evil was, and I like what Resident Evil 7 sounds like, and from the bits that I've seen from watching you or Precision or both playing it and so on. I didn't like Village, though. Watching you play Village, and I was like, it's a bit like
it was a bit with Chris Redfield, where you're going back through the village again, because it's like 3/4 of the way through, and it's not a spoiler, but you're going back through the village, and you've just got every single gun available to you, and with infinite ammo. I'm like, this is far away from what I was expecting it to be. And it wasn't until like my third playthrough where I'm thinking, I'll forget about that bit, and the rest of it is still banged. But I can't remember the name of is it a castle or a house? There's obviously the Dimitrescu, the big titty goth woman that everyone was going mad about. That was the shortest and opening part of the game. And you're thinking that was probably part of the end game, but there was I can't remember the name of the house on it anyway. It was the best part of it, Resident Evil Village, and you're only there for maybe an hour. Brilliant.
Yeah. I'm too much of a shitbag to play horror games, and I played Resident Evil 7 in VR and never made it out of that house. Shat myself, says Enzo.
In fact, the only time that I played the Resident Evil VR game was at Arcade Club. That's the first time I played it, and I only got to play it for half an hour, if that.
Yeah, not even that. Devs are running out of ideas, aren't they? And that's the thing, though. Like, it's this weird stuff about you don't need an idea for video game development. You need an idea for a story. And you make the better story, and then you evolve that story into how can I make that interesting as a game? But if you don't have the story and you only focus on making the game, then you're always on a loser then, because this would be a cool metric and a cool thing to put in, and people like it when we do this sort of stuff, and it's like, all right, but how are you going to fit all that into story? If you put it all in, it'll be shit. So you need to choose which bits you want and where to put it and so on. Like Call of Duty 4, the story on that, having like the AC-130 for the first time and the Ghillie mission and so on, that stuff was like groundbreaking. But then they like tried to copy it as much as possible every time, like and then I have to pay respects because we need some form of engagement thing here, and it's just like when you've got the clean story and you make magic, that will always be better than trying to force magic in and having no story. That's the way. Anyway, for full-on ambiguous terms, so we'll probably at the end of this one. But yeah, Resident Evil 0 is the next remake, says Leaker. Final bit then. Has any Resident Evil games been on the Switch? Because they're talking about making it a collaboration with Nintendo at launch. Is that a thing? Do you get that often with Resis?
There has been. Resident Evil does have a very, very rich history of being on a Nintendo platform. So you could play Resident Evil 1 on the Nintendo DS way back when, but there was also Resident Evil Gaiden that was on the Nintendo Game Boy Color. Resident Evil 0 was actually a game that was only exclusive to the GameCube until early 10s. Might even be like 2015, where they made the HD remaster of 0 and Resident Evil 1 to bring onto the PlayStation 4. So that's why it took me so long to be able to play 0, because I didn't own a GameCube. So then the first time I got an opportunity was to play it on Wii. But since then, on the Nintendo Switch, they've got Resident Evil 0 and 1 are available on there, as well as cloud versions of Resident Evil 7 and 8 too. Oh, and Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2 are available play on there as well without the cloud.
You
but
absolutely
they do have a lot of games
could
on
just
there.
pick random words to put into there. Oh, yep, Resident Evil Dark Passages as well. Yeah, like euphemisms.
You won't be too far away. You've got Dead Aim. You got Resident Evil Gun Survival 1 and 2. Both horrendous games.
We've got this code Veronica, this code Jessica, this code Angela and Pamela and Rena, and as I continue, the only game sweeter. Fucking like, what the fuck?
Code Veronica was such a good game, man. Like that's been touted being having a remaster for the longest time. But I could sit here and talk about Resident Evil all day, but I think that'd bore the ever-loving ass out of everyone.
On the bit about when it was released, so released remastered in 2016. So is that about when you think it might tie up with the 10s-ish of being remastered, or is that
having the 0 and 1 remastered? Yeah, because the HD version of Resident Evil 1 on the PS4/PlayStation 5 phenomenal. Like it's the GameCube remaster, not the PlayStation 1. So the GameCube, oh god, boring. But the GameCube remaster of Resident Evil 1 is completely different. Like they had basically like an extension to the Spencer Mansion. Like a million miles away from the DualShock version, which there was actually an original version of it. Yeah, boring. Deadly Silence was the DS version. Yeah, that was the DS version of Resident Evil 1.
Final question then before I wrap it up. Was it called Deadly Silence because it began with DS? Was that a thing? Did they do that on purpose?
Never knew that. Boy, that does tie in. That's brilliant.
It's like SHIELD being the Strategic Homeland Intervention and Enforcement Law Division, or whatever it is in Marvel. It seems like you just chose the letters to spell the word SHIELD rather than... Yeah. Anyway, there we go. We'll put a bit... So Resident Evil is the next... Resident Evil 0, should I say, is the next remake coming from Resident Evil. Rumours that it could come along with the launch of the Switch 2. And where was the other bits? Could be the big reimagining. No, could be the next remake before the next big reimagining, which is Resident Evil 9-ish. That's all from Dustgolem, who is someone that we spoke about before, a noted leaker, so could be a bit legit. Obviously, take it with a pinch. One thing you don't have to take with a pinch, though, is your Free Game Friday. Today is January 31st, but yesterday was January 30th. It's actually a week in advance we're doing this, but you know, Undying is the Epic Games free game. I would show it on screen because we usually bring you through the article, but because we're doing this a week in advance, there is no blurb written there by the PC Gamer team. It's usually Lauren Morton, Sarah Richter that have been doing it recently, but there is no blurb there. So if you are looking for a free game to play this weekend, Undying, whatever that may be, is free on the Epic Games store. So make sure you get that added to your account. Nice. And on that bombshell, we're going to wrap things up. Everyone that has been here for this episode, we appreciate it. If you are watching on Twitch and you've been here for 2 episodes, then that's 3 hours of content in one day on a Friday daytime. What the fuck is this? Lucky. Appreciate everyone that has been in. I very much appreciate it. As we will also appreciate, I think I can get the word appreciate in a few more times. I think people would appreciate the appreciation that comes with that appreciation. Tonight we'll be back on with some streaming stuff as well as tomorrow. So if you want any more content, this 3 hours won't enough. There will be extra streams for you this weekend. We're going to disappear. We're going to drop a raid on one of our friends as well. So please stick around for that. But before any of that happens, Mr. Bibb, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yes, again, thank you very much for listening to this show. That isn't going to be streamed live. That is also available on all the podcast services. That is exactly how you've managed to find it. But if you want to help shape next week's show, there is 2 ways you can do so. First of all, find us on social media. It is at Ice Cream Uploads across all major social media platforms. Or alternatively, get involved with our Discord. There is a little section in there that says The Scoop. All we need from you is the URL plus your thoughts and opinions. We will then give you our thoughts and impressions on the very next show, which will be at what time next week?
Did you say my name then?
I just heard what time next week? Oh, and then it just cut out. So, okay, 10 a.m. Nice. Deadly Silence was the DS version. Deadly Silence was what I got from Bibby then when I thought he said my name. Great going. Okay, we're going to drop a raid on one of our friends. I'm seeing a Molo or a Nacho or a Mikey Larkin or something like that. So we don't know. We'll figure it out in the post. So please do feel free to stick around for that. We can drop in someone saying hi. But from us, though, have yourselves a beautiful weekend. And until next time, stay frosty.